It's easy to think of arthritis as a disease of aging or genetics, a slow, inevitable wearing out of the body's moving parts. But what if the real story is more complicated, and what we eat each day quietly shapes how much pain or freedom we feel for millions struggling with stiff, aching joints? The answer may lie not just in their DNA, but in their daily diet, especially when it comes to processed foods and unhealthy fats. Take Linda, for example. She never thought her favorite Saturday night treat, a slice of pizza, a handful of chips, and a bubbly soda, could possibly hurt her. After all, it was just one meal, just once a week. But as Mondays rolled around and the swelling in her knees grew harder to ignore, she started to wonder if these so-called harmless treats were secretly making her arthritis worse. Linda's experience is far from unique. Many people living with joint pain have no idea that certain fats and processed foods act like fuel for the fire of inflammation raging inside their bodies. These aren't just empty calories, they are active agents, sparking a chain reaction that makes joints more swollen, stiff, and tender. Modern processed foods are everywhere, convenient, tasty, and often disguised as harmless snacks or quick meals. But hidden within are unhealthy fats like trans fats and excess saturated fats, as well as a cocktail of additives, preservatives, and salt. Consuming these foods, even in small amounts each day, can cause inflammation markers such as C-reactive protein CRP and interleukin-6 to rise. Over time, this subtle but constant exposure worsens the underlying inflammation that drives arthritis, making recovery feel impossible. What most people miss is that it's not about the occasional burger or indulgence. It's the everyday exposure to small amounts of these inflammatory ingredients that quietly chip away at joint health. Even foods labeled natural or low-fat can be loaded with hidden processed oils or additives that tip the scales toward pain. But there is good news. The food choices you make today can help turn the tide. By learning to recognize these hidden triggers and making simple, healthy swaps like trading chips for roasted chickpeas or butter for avocado, you can begin to lower your body's inflammatory load, soothe your joints, and reclaim a more active, comfortable life. In the next section, we'll look more closely at how added sugars and refined carbs continue this cycle, and how small changes can bring real relief. Fats and processed foods. Linda always loved her weekend treat, pepperoni pizza, a side of chips, and a soda. Just once a week, she thought. That can't hurt. But every Monday morning, without fail, the stiffness in her knees felt worse than usual. It was subtle at first, then undeniable. After a few months, she finally connected the dots. Her weekend indulgence was triggering her arthritis flare-ups. And Linda's not alone. Many people living with arthritis don't realize how powerfully certain fats and processed foods can fuel the very inflammation that's causing their pain. These foods aren't just empty calories. They're active irritants to inflame joints. Here's what happens inside the body. Processed foods and unhealthy fats can spike levels of pro-inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein CRP and interleukin-6. When you eat something like fast food fries or frozen pizza, you're not just feeding your hunger, you may also be feeding your inflammation. But here's the part most people miss. It's not just about the occasional burger. It's the repeated, daily exposure to small amounts of trans fats, saturated fats, and overly processed ingredients that build up over time. These compounds can worsen systemic inflammation, making joints more swollen, stiff, and tender. especially in people already prone to arthritis. A Mayo Clinic nutritionist points out that one of the top food mistakes arthritis patients make is not realizing how hidden these fats are. Think packaged snacks, microwave meals, margarine, and even store-bought salad dressings. These foods often contain oils and additives that tip your body's balance toward inflammation. But what's the alternative? You don't have to give up flavor to protect your joints. You just need to make smarter swaps. Instead of potato chips, try baked kale chips or roasted chickpeas with turmeric. Instead of greasy takeout, consider a whole grain flatbread with grilled veggies and a drizzle of olive oil. Swap out butter for avocado on toast. Each small change adds up, gradually lowering your body's inflammatory load. Here's a surprising fact. Studies show that people who lose even 10 to 20 pounds by cutting out processed foods experience significantly less joint pain and stiffness. It's not just the weight off their knees. It's the drop in inflammation markers, too. And don't forget about healthy fats. Omega-3s from sources like flax seeds, walnuts, and fatty fish like salmon or sardines can actually help reduce inflammation. These are the kinds of fats that arthritis experts recommend adding, not avoiding. So the next time you reach for a processed snack, think about what your joints might be saying tomorrow. One small decision today could mean a more comfortable walk, an easier climb up the stairs, or even a better night's sleep. Up next, we'll look at another overlooked trigger hiding in many pantries: sugar and refined carbs. And this one might surprise you even more. Added sugars and refined carbs. Every morning, Jim started his day with a toasted white bagel, slathered in cream cheese, and a tall glass of orange juice. By mid-afternoon, his fingers felt stiff, his knees ached, and getting out of his chair took more effort than it should. He blamed it on getting older until a visit with a dietitian changed his perspective. It wasn't just age, it was sugar. Many people living with arthritis don't realize how closely their pain is tied to what they eat first thing in the morning or drink throughout the day. Sugar and refined carbohydrates might seem harmless, even comforting. But for arthritic joints, they can be silent saboteurs. Let's break it down. When you eat something high in sugar like a soda, a sweet pastry, or a piece of white bread, your blood sugar spikes. This triggers a release of insulin, a hormone that regulates glucose. But repeated spikes lead to a pro-inflammatory state. That means more cytokines in the bloodstream, more tissue irritation, and for arthritis sufferers, more joint pain. And here's what really surprised researchers: even natural sugars, like those found in fruit juices, can contribute to inflammation when consumed in excess. That morning glass of orange juice might seem healthy, but without the fiber of whole fruit to slow absorption, it's essentially a sugar bomb. Refined carbs, like white bread, crackers, and pasta, aren't far behind. Your body processes them quickly into sugar, setting off the same inflammatory chain reaction. It's why people with rheumatoid arthritis often report more flare-ups after eating bread, cookies, or breakfast cereals. In fact, one survey of RA patients found that sweets and desserts were among the most commonly reported trigger foods. These weren't one-off indulgences. They were part of regular eating habits, quietly stoking the fires of inflammation day after day. But here's the good news. The solution isn't about cutting out all carbs. It's about choosing the right kinds: whole grains, like oats, quinoa, and brown rice. Release sugar more slowly into the bloodstream. That means less insulin, less inflammation, and more stable energy. When paired with fiber-rich fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats. These carbs can actually support joint health. Instead of a morning bagel, imagine starting the day with a bowl of oatmeal topped with berries and walnuts. Swap out white bread for a whole grain or sprouted loaf. Craving something sweet in the afternoon? Try a handful of almonds and a square of dark chocolate. Even replacing soda with unsweetened iced herbal tea can make a real difference. Over time, these choices retrain your taste buds and reprogram your body's inflammatory response. That daily stiffness you've accepted as normal, it might not be normal at all. It might be food talking. Jim made one simple change, replacing his bagel and juice with whole grain toast, avocado, and a cup of green tea. Within weeks, he noticed he could grip his coffee mug more easily. Getting out of the chair felt smoother. He hadn't changed anything else in his life. Just breakfast. Coming up next, we'll look at another common kitchen culprit: too much salt and the wrong kind of fat. And for people with arthritis, this is a mistake that's hiding in plain sight. Salt and omega-6. Oil overload. Marilyn loved a quick lunch, usually a can of chicken noodle soup with a slice of cheddar cheese on crackers. It was convenient, warm, and felt like comfort food. But over time, she started noticing something odd about an hour after lunch. Her hands would swell, her rings wouldn't fit, and her knees throbbed just walking down the hallway. Her doctor told her the problem might be in her salt shaker. But the truth was, the salt wasn't coming from there. It was hiding in the soup. Many people with arthritis don't realize that sodium, especially the kind packed into processed foods, is a powerful inflammation amplifier. And it's everywhere in canned soups, frozen dinners, boxed pasta meals, deli meats, cheeses, salad dressings, even healthy veggie burgers. Sodium doesn't just raise blood pressure. It also affects immune response and fluid retention. When too much salt circulates in the body, it can trigger a shift in immune cells that increases inflammation. That means more pressure in the joints, more stiffness, and more pain for people with osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. But here's the part that really catches people off guard. Salt is only half the story. The other half is the type of fat hiding in everyday cooking oils. We're talking about omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6s aren't inherently bad. They're essential fats. But in the modern diet, we get way too much of them, especially from vegetable oils like corn, soybean, sunflower, and safflower oils. These oils are heavily used in fast foods, packaged snacks, and restaurant meals. And when consumed in excess, omega-6s fuel inflammation. The problem gets worse when our omega-6 intake far outweighs our omega-3 intake, the fats known for fighting inflammation. Ideally, you want a balanced ratio, close to 4:1 or even 1:1. But today, the average American eats closer to 21. That means way too many inflammation-promoting fats and not nearly enough of the protective ones. This imbalance acts like pouring gasoline on a fire for someone with arthritis. Luckily, changing the balance is very doable, and you don't have to give up flavor. It starts with small shifts. Use extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil for cooking instead of vegetable oil. These are rich in monounsaturated fats and much less inflammatory. Sprinkle herbs, garlic, or lemon juice on meals instead of reaching for the salt shaker. Try smoked paprika or turmeric to add depth of flavor with anti-inflammatory benefits. Choose fresh or frozen vegetables instead of canned, or rinse canned ones to reduce sodium. Limit processed meats and opt for fresh poultry or fish. And most importantly, Boost your omega-3 intake. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel are excellent. Ground flaxseed, chia seeds, and walnuts are also great plant-based options. Marilyn decided to make a few swaps. She replaced her canned soup with a homemade lentil stew seasoned with garlic, thyme, and a touch of sea salt. She cooked with olive oil and started eating salmon once a week. A month later, she wasn't just walking easier. She felt like herself again. It's a reminder that our joints are always listening to what we eat. Every bite is either easing inflammation or fueling it. And when it comes to arthritis, those daily decisions can quietly add up to real pain or real relief. Next, let's turn the focus toward hope and healing. In the next section, we'll explore anti-inflammatory alternatives foods that actively soothe your joints and restore mobility. This is where the recovery truly begins. Anti-inflammatory alternatives. After learning what not to eat, many people feel overwhelmed. If I can't have chips, soda, white bread, or canned soup, they ask. What's left, the answer, is a lot. And not only is it delicious, it can help soothe inflamed joints and possibly slow arthritis progression. Think of this section as the flip side of the food errors. Instead of focusing on the culprits, we focus on the heroes. These are the foods that help your body fight inflammation from the inside out. They're the everyday ingredients that can become your body's natural defense system against arthritis pain. Let's start with omega-3 rich foods. These fats don't just reduce inflammation, they actively support joint health. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and trout top the list. Even one serving a week can make a difference. Plant sources include walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, and hemp hearts. Add them to smoothies, sprinkle them on yogurt, or mix them into oatmeal. Next are antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables. Berries, especially blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries contain compounds called anthocyanins that reduce inflammation. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard are rich in vitamin K, which supports bone and joint health. Cruciferous vegetables broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cauliflower contains sulforaphane, a compound linked to slowing cartilage damage. Don't overlook the power of herbs and spices. Turmeric is well known for its anti-inflammatory compound curcumin. Ginger also has similar effects and can be added to teas, stir-fries, or even smoothies. Garlic, rosemary, cinnamon, and cayenne pepper can all add flavor and function to your meals. Whole grains like quinoa, brown rice, oats, and barley are far better than refined grains. They help regulate blood sugar and offer fiber, which supports gut health, an emerging link in autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis. And when it comes to snacks, consider dark chocolate in moderation, green tea, or a handful of almonds. These small additions can provide antioxidants and healthy fats without tipping the scale toward inflammation. Now, let's put it all together. A sample anti-inflammatory day might look like this. Breakfast steel-cut oats topped with blueberries, ground flaxseed, and a drizzle of honey. Green tea on the side. Lunch grilled salmon salad with spinach, cherry tomatoes, walnuts, and an olive oil lemon dressing. Snack a handful of almonds and a few dark chocolate squares. Dinner lentil and vegetable stew seasoned with turmeric and garlic, served with quinoa and roasted Brussels sprouts. Dessert optional sliced pear with cinnamon or a few frozen grapes. This is more than a diet, it's a strategy. It's the core of what many doctors at the Mayo Clinic and other research institutions now recommend: an anti-inflammatory or Mediterranean-style eating plan. In fact, a Mayo Clinic review highlighted how these diets not only reduce joint pain, but also improve heart health, lower diabetes risk, and support cognitive function. It's not about temporary relief. It's about long-term protection. And the best part, you don't have to be perfect. Even making just 1 or 2 of these changes each week can begin to shift your inflammation balance. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. In the next section, we'll share a real-life story of someone who made these changes and saw their arthritis symptoms dramatically improve. It's proof that food isn't just fuel, it's therapy. 3 years ago, Arthur, a 68-year-old retired school principal, found himself struggling with simple tasks. Climbing stairs was painful. Opening jars took effort. Playing with his grandkids felt more like work than joy. His doctor diagnosed him with osteoarthritis in both knees and hands. The recommended treatment: pain relievers and taking it easy. But Arthur wasn't ready to slow down. He started reading about the role food plays in inflammation. What he discovered changed his life. He began by keeping a food journal. Over a few weeks, he noticed a pattern every time he ate burgers, fries, white bread, or sugary desserts. The next day brought more pain. With that realization, he decided to try a new approach. One focused on healing from within. His first change was breakfast. He swapped sugary cereals for oatmeal topped with blueberries and walnuts. Lunch moved from deli sandwiches to grain bowls with quinoa, chickpeas, kale, and avocado. Instead of a can of soda, he drank water with lemon or iced green tea. Dinner became simple grilled salmon or chicken with steamed broccoli and sweet potatoes, always cooked in olive oil. He snacked on fruit, nuts, or plain yogurt with cinnamon instead of cookies or chips. At first, the results were subtle. A little less stiffness in the morning, easier movement at night. But after a few weeks, the change was undeniable. His pain was down. His energy was up. He could grip objects more easily, and walking became less of a burden. 6 months in, he returned to his doctor for a checkup. His inflammation markers were lower. He had lost 12 pounds without trying. Most importantly, he had cut his pain medication use by half with his doctor's blessing. Arthur didn't follow a perfect plan. He still enjoyed the occasional pizza night with his grandkids. But he learned how to balance it with a salad, with movement, with plenty of water. The difference was, he knew what his body needed to recover. He often tells friends, "I didn't cure my arthritis, but I finally stopped feeding it." His story is a powerful reminder that while we can't change the past, we can always change what we put on our plate today. And sometimes, that's where healing begins. In our final section, we'll bring everything together, recapping the 3 common food errors that fuel arthritis, and showing you how small, steady changes can protect your joints and transform your daily life. Let's take a moment to recap. If you're living with arthritis, every bite matters. And unknowingly, many of us are making daily food choices that work against our joints instead of with them. The first common mistake, relying on processed foods and unhealthy fats. Chips, frozen meals, fast food. They all add to the body's inflammatory burden. The second, consuming too much added sugar and refined carbs. That morning pastry or sweetened drink might seem harmless, but for arthritic joints, they're silent stressors. And third, the overuse of sodium and omega-6 heavy oils. These hide in canned goods, packaged snacks, and restaurant meals, tipping the body into a more inflamed state. But now you know, and knowing gives you power. Power to shift toward foods that heal omega-3 rich fish, colorful fruits and vegetables, whole grains, healthy oils, and anti-inflammatory spices. These are more than just healthy choices. They're tools. Tools to protect your joints, reduce your pain, and support the life you want to keep living. Remember Arthur's story. He didn't need a miracle, just a few steady changes. And they added up to more freedom, more energy, and less pain. Now it's your turn. What one habit will you change this week? Maybe it's switching from white bread to whole grain. Maybe it's swapping soda for herbal tea. Or maybe it's just skipping that second salty snack in favor of a piece of fruit. Whatever it is, start small, but start today. Your joints will thank you. If this video helped you think differently about arthritis and food, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone you love who might be struggling. And remember, sometimes the first step to feeling better isn't in a bottle. It's in your kitchen.